Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Phil Coppola and I'm the Regional Sales Manager for Genetec in the great state of New Jersey, as well as a board-certified physical security professional. So I'm really excited about this particular video because whereas in the past we've gone through specific features and functions that Genetec has built, this time around we're going to go into Security Center, but we're going to use a partner product. And what partner are we partnering with today? None other than Hanwha, Techwin. And they were nice enough to gift me this camera, the PNV-A9081R. And what makes this camera special is that it has onboard, baked-in, artificial intelligence video analytics. What the heck does that mean? Well, traditionally, if you wanted to do a search for a person wearing a red jacket, you would normally have to take video from Security Center or some other video management platform, export it, import it into some third-party application. For those of you in the security industry, you know exactly which applications that I'm talking about. And then that application would parse through the data and then allow you to search based on those parameters, right? Men, red shirt, blue jeans, traveling in this direction. That's really cool, but it does require a whole separate third party, whereas with this camera and its sister cameras, all of that metadata tagging is happening in real time on the camera. And what's really cool is Hanwha has developed a plugin for Security Center that will allow us to search those metadata tags and associate them with events in Security Desk. So I don't have to export the video. The camera's already doing all the work for me. So literally in Security Center, I can now search, male, red shirt, and be brought to the video where the males in red shirts were coming through your particular facility, or cars, or license plates, or I think even faces. Not facial recognition, but face detection. So what I thought would be really cool is let's unbox this bad boy, see what's in the box, set it up, bring it into Security Center as a new entity, set up the plugin, and then I'm going to stick this camera outside of my house, face it towards the street, record a bunch of video, and then let's try out the metadata tags and see how well it works. So stick with me and let's get this thing started. All right, so as I mentioned, let's get this thing unboxed and start getting it into Security Center. So the first thing that you are encountered with is the mounting diagram. So you would normally, and this is actually really cool because it's a sticker, right? So you would stick this onto the wall and make all your pilot holes before you actually did any wall penetrations. So it prevents you from making holes in all the wrong spaces. So that's actually really neat. I really do appreciate when camera manufacturers put that in the box. We've also got what looks like a sun shield. That's the sun shield. So this looks like where the camera housing is, and this looks like the camera itself. And check it out here. Powering up the camera module within packaging can cause module to become extremely hot. Please use caution. So what this basically is, and if we peel off this little window here, you can see the Ethernet port right there. So I could literally, without taking this camera out of the box, program the IP address and sort of get things started. That, my friends, is a fantastic feature. Why is this important? Well, if you're deploying one or two cameras, okay, take the cameras out of the box and plug them into a switch, no big deal. But if you're deploying 50, 100, 200 cameras, and you're pre-programming to do your factory acceptance testing, why have to take every single camera out of the box and program the IP address when we can just leave the camera in the box, label it, bring it to the job site, and now I know exactly where the camera's supposed to go. I can give this to my electrician or to my cabling contractor. Whoa, don't go too far, screw. I can give this to my cabling contractor along with the camera with the labeling and tell them exactly where to terminate, plug the camera in, and it's ready to go. So that to me is, I mean, that's a fantastic feature. The actual housing itself. You see that's the back. Here's where your cables would come out. Here's the mounting plate that's held on there right now with tape. And then we see the camera body or the camera housing is empty, no actual camera in it. In that same box is all the terminating wires, Allen key, Allen wrench, all your rubber gaskets and all that sort of fun stuff. So that came in that big old box in a box, which means the last thing left in this box is, or should be, the camera. Look at how that's packed. That's actually packed really well, considering the camera is not in the housing. You know, it used to be the camera manufacturers would ship this already pre-installed in here, and the challenge there is, you know, shipping isn't necessarily the most delicate process, so the camera would get knocked around quite a bit. So this is actually a much more safe way to transport the camera. Does it mean I need a ton of extra packaging material? Yeah, but when you consider these cameras are retailing for over $1,000, I kind of want to be sure that the camera is going to survive the trip from the distributor, from the factory really, to the manufacturing distribution facility in the US, from there to the distributor's facility, from the distributor's facility to your facility, and then from your facility to your end user site. This thing needs to be packed extremely well, which again is why that's so important, because now I don't have to compromise the integrity of all this packaging material. I can leave everything in the box at the place, at my shop, in my lab, plug everything in and pre-program it without actually having to disturb any of the packaging material, which is not what we're going to do today. So let's take this out. It's actually quite light. So after all that and all that packaging material and that big old box, what do you actually get? Pretty much this, and the booklets, which are still in the other box. So camera, housing, sun shield, all your accessory wires and screws, and your mounting template. The other really cool thing that I notice here is the camera lens itself is protected by a piece of foam stuck on there with some industrial tape, and on the bottom of the camera is another piece of industrial tape, and if we take that off, reveals a sticker that's got all the particulars. I don't know if I can get that to focus, but it's got all the particulars of the camera here. So the camera part number, the voltage, the MAC address, all that sort of stuff. So again, I could take this off, stick it onto a sheet or onto maybe a warranty certificate, and now I've got that saved for me. Another really cool thing that you could see on here is a QR code. I want to find my phone here and scan that QR code, and what I noticed is not only is the QR code here on this removable sticker, but it's also adhered to the camera itself. So I'm going to open up the Photos app and take a picture of the sticker. It does give me a search that I can do. It should take me to the product page. Everything about the camera, the overview, the product specs, related products, downloads, like everything that you would need to know about the particular camera, including, hey, I recognize that one. If we go back a page too, it also brings up the different apps that are associated with this particular model. So we see the WiseNet mobile app, the WiseNet toolbox, also some other links for that particular camera and some of its sister cameras. So that's, again, really neat, cool feature. I really like that. Thumbs up to Hanwha on that one. That's very well thought out. Just rounding out a couple more features here. This is where we'd plug in this particular dongle. So this is your composite video out. For those of us that are old like me, you'll recognize that as a BNC connector for a composite analog video monitor, so maybe a public view monitor, or potentially for your installing integrator, they would use this. They would use this to plug into an analog field monitor for focus adjustments. We can see here there's a little joystick that controls the lens. So W and T for wide and tight, so that controls your focus, your zoom, I should say, and if we see here the N and the F for near and far, so that's your focus adjustment. So without actually having to touch the lens, I could plug in my analog composite field monitor, dialed in the lens just right, and yep, I thought that was the case. I'm clicking into that button. I'm betting that's the auto back focus adjustment. So really well designed, really simple. And then if we look here in the back, there's your PoE port, your Ethernet port, your alarm inputs, and your other various inputs. So this particular, so it looks like we've got an audio in and audio out. That's the green and orange, or excuse me, green and pink connectors there. We've got our alarm I/O ports, and then we would plug this into here. This looks like our external power, so 24 volt AC or 12 volt DC, and flipping it over, our micro SD card slot. And then here, I almost didn't notice them because they're so small, 4 LEDs for infrared illumination. Really well designed camera. I really can't wait to get this thing actually plugged in. So having said that, let's plug it in. All right, so I am actually logged into my demo kit. I am running Security Center 5.9, but I'm not even up to that step yet because I haven't even plugged this this bad boy in just yet. Quick note, WiseNet Device Manager, go ahead and download and install always the latest version. So I just downloaded and installed 2.3.14, the full version. Just because this camera is brand new, I didn't want to, trip over myself. Maybe with a slightly older version, maybe the camera didn't come up. So let's put wire to camera. Lights, and the lights are on. So let's give this a second to find itself using the WiseNet application. And it found it. Actually found it pretty quick. It was set up out of the box DHCP, grabbed an IP address for me automatically. That's awesome. That's fantastic. The other thing that's fantastic is it needs a password. Thank you, Hanwha, for forcing me to create a password for this camera out of the box. That is such a vulnerability of so many cameras today. They're out of the box, and the passwords are either admin, or I won't give any more away, but if you've been doing this as long as I have, you kind of know the default usernames and passwords right up here. So the fact that this requires me to put in a password, and hopefully I'm going to pick, and you're going to pick, a very difficult password to guess, is awesome. So it's already found the camera. It's assigned an IP address for it through DHCP, and we see the MAC address. We don't know the firmware version, so I might go ahead and upgrade the firmware, but let's. You know what? I think this camera is good to go as it is. So let's jump into Security Desk and see if we can add the video unit from there. Actually, I can't do that because I have to give it a password first, right? Security Desk is going to ask me for the username and password. I don't know what the password is, so we're going to have to give it a password. So let's try hitting the IP address. Beautiful. What's the password? I'm going to give it a password here. Let's see if it'll accept it. Huzzah! It did. And we're in. And we're in under the administrator. So I'm not going to go through like the actual setup menu and everything. If you need more information on this, or you want to get a specific demonstration for this, message me down below and let me know, and I can hook you up with your regional sales manager for Hanwha, who could take you through all this. I am not an expert on Hanwha by any stretch of the imagination. I do work with them quite a bit, and again, they gifted me this camera for this specific purpose. So if you're looking for a more in-depth, deep dive into like what all these features and functions are, contact your regional sales manager at Hanwha. One thing that I think I do need to do here, though, is to turn on the AI analytics. And we could see here object detection AI. And literally what I've been told is I really just need to hit enable on these. So enable object detection, apply, enable, apply. Okay. I'm not going to give it an exclusion area because I just want the whole scene to be able to detect these object analytics. Best shot and attributes. You know what? I'm not even sure what these things do. Again, I was told all I have to do is enable this and turn these on, and it will detect people, vehicles, faces, facial detection, not facial recognition, as well as license plates. And again, license plate detection, not license plate recognition. That's important. If you think that this camera can detect a license plate and then pull the object, pull the characters off of it, and you can search for, plate number ABC123, that's not this. Same with face. Will it detect faces in a scene? Yes. Show me all faces. Awesome. It will do that. Show me Phil's face. No. Can't do that. It doesn't know the difference between Phil and anybody else. So just really important. It's looking for face detection, license plate detection. But it is tagging people and it is tagging vehicles. So this is awesome. I think we're good here. So I'm just going to leave this as is and move on. Wait, it's Phil from the future.
Hey, Scott!
So I just said, I don't know what that best shot thing is, but I don't know, so I'm going to leave it empty. No. Enable it. So best shot basically takes individual snapshots and then displays them in the live view of the camera, but it's also what Security Center uses as like the reference image. So like the thumbnail that you would see in the search when you do the search. So really important, make sure that's enabled. The other thing that I said was I wasn't really sure about this common thing. So again, you could tell I'm in the future because you're looking at my demo kit now. So the camera's sitting right next to me here. Basically what this is, it's like the sensitivity settings for the analytics themselves. So this blue box represents how large or how small of an object it will detect. So anything smaller than this box will be ignored. Anything larger than this orangish, reddish box will be ignored. Sensitivity levels at about 80%. And then there's a number of other features down here that I'm not going to get into. Again, if you want more info about setting this up, contact your Hanwha rep. But that is what that common tab is for. But please make sure enable object detection, enable the ones that you want enabled, and make sure best shot is also turned on and each one is enabled as well. Okay, back to the past thing. Before we jump into the Security Desk application, we actually have to download the plugin for Hanwha's AI cameras off of Hanwha's website. So this is not a plugin that Genetec built. This is actually a plugin that Hanwha has built. Here we have a manual for it, and here's the plugin for Genetec, and here's some other plugin for someone else, and it sends you to their website. I don't know who that could be, but if you go to the product page and scroll all the way at the bottom, click plugins. Here you'll find the Genetec plugin for AI cameras, and just download it here. So after downloading the file and extracting, you'll see you'll have two applications or two plugins, one for the server and one for the client. Pretty important here. So if you're not able to view from your client workstation, probably means you didn't install the plugin on your client workstation. So I actually have two machines that I'm working with here. I have the SV100 that's living in my demo kit and the laptop that I'm using as my workstation for Security Desk. So I'm going to go ahead and install the plugin for both. So I am logged into the server now, so I might as well go ahead and install the server application. Oh no, Windows is trying to protect my PC. That's okay, Microsoft. I'm going to run that anyway, because I trust my friends at Hanwha. And yes, you will have to do this on each client workstation where you want to run this particular plugin. But it looks like this is a pretty straightforward and painless process. And looks like it's done in less than 30 seconds. That's awesome. So that was a pretty painless process. Now let's open up Config Tool, add this camera, and then open it up in the Security Desk application. Hang on one more sec. It's Phil from the future again.
Great Scott!
So important. So we've downloaded the plugin from Hanwha, but I forgot, and actually it caused me a bit of consternation while I was setting this thing up. I forgot that you actually need to apply a Genetec plugin as well. So the plugin that you download from Hanwha's website is their software that you have to install both on the client side and on the server side. The Hanwha camera also requires a Genetec plugin license. So we can see here I'm in Config Tool, and I actually had to add a plugin for the Hanwha AI camera. So you see it here, Hanwha AI camera plugin. Also important to note, you need to have that plugin licensed on your system. If you're missing this, it won't work. So the camera will be working, the plugin on the Hanwha side will be working, the plugin that's running on your server, but if you're not licensed for it, it sort of won't appear in Security Desk. Don't make the same mistake I made. Make sure you have this license, and by the way, you need one of these licenses per archiver role. So if you've got a generally small system, you have one archiver role, that would be this. If you only have one of these, then you're fine. You need one license. If you have multiple archivers and you have these Hanwha cameras doing this AI stuff across all of those archivers, then you need one license per archiver role. Okay, back to the past. All right, so here we are in the Config Tool. We're in the Video tab. Add my video unit. Specific logon. We're going to put the username and password that was assigned, or that we assigned to the camera at startup. And unit added successfully. Excellent. Go to the Video tab, see if we like. So, wow, okay. H.265 right out of the box. 4K right out of the box. Nice. Very nice. Nice. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave this almost bone stock. I will turn on continuous recording and clean up after 5 days. So it's going to record 4K up to 4 megabits per second, 10 frames a second continuously until the 5th day, and then the archiver will just start deleting video. So this camera ostensibly is ready to go. I'm just going to stick it in an area, and we'll call this our demo zone. Apply, and we'll move our two Hanwha cameras into the demo zone. And I'm experimenting with this IN120. This IN100. It's currently offline, but I'm going to move that into the demo zone as well. Just check back at a later date when I figure out how to configure that IN100. It's giving me problems, but I will not let it beat me. I will beat it, and a special thanks to Asa Abloy for donating that. So now with all those changes made, we can move into Security Desk, and we could see in our area view here, our demo zone area is up and enabled. There's our two Hanwha cameras and our IN100. Again, special thanks to Asa Abloy on that one. Check back at a later date. If I have filmed that video, I'll stick a card up here so you can check that one out. But if we bring this over and bring it into a tile, there we go. We're looking at my ceiling. And the camera's recording, right? So we've got continuous video. We could see these green areas indicate the camera is picking up motion. If I zoom out, we could see that it started recording here at 10:12. Yes, I do work late into the night for those of you who doubt that. But camera's ready, camera's set up. Now, since it's 10 o'clock at night, I'm not going to set up this camera outside right now, but tomorrow I'll go outside once the sun comes up, stick this camera on a tripod, point it at my street, and start to gather some information. So when we meet again, we will see what kind of analytics we're bringing out of the camera. All right, folks, so here we are with the camera. As you can see, I'm about 6 feet tall, and the camera's a little bit higher than me, so I've got it mounted at about 6 feet in height. It's zoomed in about half of the way that it can zoom. I'll put a link down to the spec sheet down below so you can see what the lens range is. I'm really impressed with the color rendering of this camera, how long it stays in color, the resolution. I mean, it's a 4K camera. That's phenomenal resolution. And what I've been really impressed with so far is the camera's capability of classifying objects. It's incredibly easy to set up, as we've seen so far, and the results that I've seen thus far have really been impressive. So you can kind of hear the road noise in the background. I live on a fairly busy street during certain times of the day, so we should be able to have a ton of vehicles to classify. And I actually had my kids play in the front yard, so we should hopefully be able to classify people, human beings, right? Male, female, color of dress, maybe even potentially age ranges. I know the camera can classify different ages. I think young, adult, middle age, and old. I'd be curious to see what it classified me as, so that should be pretty interesting. So let's get back into the lab, run some searches, and see what this camera has to offer. All right, so I've let the camera burn in for a few days. It picked up a ton of vehicles. I mean, I said before, I thought my street was fairly busy. That's a busy street. I mean, I guess I spend all day in the Genetec bunker down here, so I don't really get a sense of how many cars pass by, but so many cars passed by in such a small amount of time that it, like, if I just did a search for show me all cars over the last 3 days, like, it exceeded the amount of allowable search data. So you actually do have to narrow that down quite a bit, which we'll get into here in a minute. But yeah, it picked up people, it picked up bicycles, motorcycles, vehicles, various age ranges, colors, and whatnot. So let's dive in and run some search. All right, so first search here, as you can see, we're back in Security Desk. We're going to click on the Hanwha AI report, go into our demo zone area. I'm going to select the camera that was doing the majority of the recording, or doing all the recording. You could see I'm in person, and I'm just going to sort by date at this point. So just over the last 3 days, show me all people. And here we are. Now, what's interesting is if we come over to the visual reports tab or task, we can see that I actually had 410 people come by the camera, whether that was up close or far away. And you could see we could sort quite a bit of this information. You know, of the 410, 12 of them had black shirt and blue jeans, for example. So now let's. But in order to really narrow it down, let's start to get more granular. So let's look just for men over the last 3 days. Well, now look, we went from 410 to 189, and again, we can see using the visual reports exactly what classifications there were, and we can get more specific. We'll do some other visual reports later, maybe line charts and whatnot, to see what times of day people are coming by. So now let's see if that changes if it's just people in white shirts, and there you go, 56. So now we went from 410 down to 56 just by clicking two boxes, men wearing white. All right, so now let's actually look for some video. So here, as you can see, it classified a female wearing a black top and gray or black lower, so gray or black pants. And that's exactly what we have here. A female doing her normal morning walk. This was 8:25 a.m. on October 5th, wearing a black top and gray pants, walking by. So, I mean, it doesn't get much more accurate than that, does it, people? So, and then with this one, male wearing a yellow top and black pants, right around 7:52 in the morning. Again, another gentleman doing his morning walk, and yeah, I'd say that's an orangish yellowy shirt, black pants, male. And what's interesting here is classified male from the back. It didn't even see the face, but I guess maybe based on the gait of the person walking, it picked male, which again, spot on. And then finally here, we've got a male wearing a green top, black pants. This one's interesting because it's on a bike, or he is on a bike going by the camera. So the camera was able to classify the person on the bike. And we'll go into a different search here in a little bit because I want to show you that the camera also picked up this same person as a bicycle. So when we do the vehicle search, you'll see the bicycle also came up. So whether I'm searching for a bike or searching for people, it sort of did both, which is really cool. All right, so now let's search based on faces. So faces will allow you to classify male, female, age classification, young, adult, middle-aged, senior, glasses or no glasses, mask or no mask, and again, over the time period. So we're going to put in the same 3-day time period and see what it grabs. We can already see it got me there and got my wife as well. All right, so here I am making my first appearance. Gender male, age adult, I'll take it. Wearing glasses with no mask. And there you go. There's a man wearing glasses with no mask. Yeah, that's me. It doesn't get much easier than that to find a person matching a description, right? Here we've got gender female, age young, no glasses, no mask, and this is going to be, I think, my daughter. Yep, there she is. She's a bit of a camera ham. Sure enough, did the classification right there. And finally here, gender male, young, no glasses, no mask. And there he is. That's my little guy. He is actually carrying his mask to school. Good boy. But yeah, there you go. So again, super, super simple to search on basic classifications and get really good, really accurate results. And in terms of visual reports, we could see here, just looking real quick, I got 192 results. Just by sorting by females, I'm bringing that down to 95 results. Sort by male, I got 97 results, and then I can get even more granular and even more particular. So, if I wanted to see people only with glasses, men with glasses, that's 5, and that's probably going to be all me walking by the camera. So, and there we go. If we do adults, 4. So you could see how using visual reports can really help you to narrow your searches down or give you the exact type of metadata you're looking for that goes beyond simple, show me video. This shows me exactly how many people are coming through my scene meeting very specific descriptions. All right, so now let's do a new search with vehicles. And we're going to go through a few different vehicle classifications here. Let's start with the visual report over the last 1-day period. Let's sort this using a pie chart or a donut chart, and this shows me that I had 167 cars come through, or automobiles really, because they could be all sorts of different classifications, but 167 vehicles drove past this camera in the span of a 1-day period. With visual reports, of course, we can change the classification of the chart itself to give us more granular data for the metadata. But here now, if we do just cars, we see we go from the 160s down to the 150s. If we now do a search for red cars, now we're down to 7. That's really powerful. That's really powerful stuff. And now if we actually go and look for a red car, we can see here on October 5th, around 9 a.m., car is the type, color is red, and there's our red car driving past the camera. Using quick search, I would never be able to do this, right, with typical quick search. If the car stopped there, I could draw a box on the screen and then see when the car arrived or when the car wasn't there versus when the car was there, and then, sort of narrow my search down from there. But if I would just want to know when did a red car come past this camera, this is really the only way to do it right now without exporting that video, importing it into a third-party piece of software for processing, and then reviewing that processed video. This is like on the fly. I'm doing it as it's happening. So now let's do the search for bicycles. Over the last 3-day period, I don't think I had many bicycles come by. Camera says it found a black bicycle, or excuse me, a bicycle in the color red. See, now that's interesting. It did pick up a bicycle. It is a red bicycle, but it's on the back of a car. That's really cool. That's really cool. So the camera obviously knows the difference between a car and a bicycle. So the bicycle doesn't even have to have a person on it. It picked out the bicycle on the back of a car. That's really neat. So here's another bicycle, color red. And there it is. And it's picking up the bicycle on the right-hand side in red, and you can kind of see the spokes on the bike there. And then finally, this was the interesting one from earlier. So now it's picking up a white bicycle, and look who it is. We recognize that person, right? So there's the person that we detected in our last search for people riding the bike. So now we're picking that same person riding the bicycle, not necessarily meeting the description of the person or the garb that they're wearing, but picking up the description of the bicycle. So it's a white bicycle at that same time. So again, classified two different objects at the exact same. All right, so now let's move on to a different classification. Let's look at motorcycles over the last 3 days. As you can imagine, not many of those, about 5 over a 3-day period, a bunch of them at night. So we're not going to get like the color classification because obviously everything is gray or black when the camera's in nighttime mode with the IR on. But here we have a motorcycle classification in the color of purple, which is an interesting color for a bike, not out of the realm of possibility. Let's see what the camera picked up. Yeah, I'd say that's a purple car, maybe like really dark blue, right? But that skews purple. And considering how fast they're going down my 25-mile-an-hour street, the fact that the camera is actually able to pick that up as purple is really interesting. And you could see that it also classified the motorcycle that came in just behind it as well, just a couple seconds before. So again, very accurate. And finally, let's look at trucks. Again, can't imagine that there's a lot of trucks that came by in 3 days. About 19 trucks. And here's one that it picked up as a black truck that's about to come by. And there you go. There's a truck. We'll back it up a second here. And, you can see that the front of the cab is white, but the predominant color of it, between the tires and the bed itself is black. So I'd say that that's an accurate judgment call based on what the camera was able to pick up here. I don't have a problem with calling that black. And then finally, if we just do a search for an oddball color, like orange, for example, we did get 2 orange cars that came through my neighborhood in a 3-day span. Then we could see, yep, only 2 in a 3-day span. Not the most popular color in the world. And when we pull it down, we could see that we had 1 classified as orange on October 4th. Actually, they were both on October 4th. And there you go. It's a pickup truck. Yep, I have no problem with that. That is 1 orange pickup truck. You can see how these searches are really, really super helpful for forensic investigations, for metadata analysis, right? So I can run all sorts of really cool reports and then be able to turn that information over to various stakeholders in my organization. So maybe the marketing folks want to know how many people have come through my door, how many people are in a given area between this time and this time, how many people are wearing masks, in a post-COVID world, which we will eventually get into, Lord knows when. We want to know how many people are violating our mask policy, right? Or how many men are coming through this particular area, or how many vehicles I'm getting through my parking lot at this particular point in time without having to put in an expensive license plate recognition system. So now that we can do all that, well, how do we display that information? It's not going to be really super helpful to have to run that report every single time. Well, that's where dashboards come in. So I've built a custom dashboard for these analytics, and I want to show you what that looks like. So we simply click on dashboards, and you'll see here the option will come up, which dashboard do you want to pick? I created this Hanwha AI dashboard. I'm going to open that up. And what you can see here is I've basically got a bunch of these different reports preloaded in this dashboard. So here's a vehicle traffic analysis, right? And this is showing me, my peak times across a several day period. So over those 3 days, what were my peak times for vehicle traffic, as well as pedestrian traffic? What were my peak times for pedestrian traffic? Those 150 people that came through, we had some friends over and the kids played in the front yard. But you can also see here women with no masks on, men with no masks on, bicycles and motorcycles that came through, children in the facility. How many children have come through? And obviously we're showing a picture or a video tile of the camera. So this can be as much data as you want. This is just a really simplified version of the dashboard. But sky's the limit here. So if you wanted to create a marketing dashboard that had a lot more of these types of numerical values, that's fine. We can populate as many of those as you want. There's a limit, obviously. But as you can see, you could fit a ton of really relevant data here on the dashboards. And I should note, dashboards are available to any security center system user, so long as you're allowed to do it, right, by your system administrator. So long as you have rights to look at dashboards and create dashboards, they're there for you to use. This is not a licensable feature. This just comes with Security Center. I think this came out as part of our 5.7 release, and again, we're on 5.9. whatever these days. So again, really useful feature. Use it. It's there, and you can use it with the Hanwha AI Analytics. So just a quick recap. We unboxed the camera. We saw that they've provided that little window in there that you could plug the camera without ever actually having to take the camera out of the box, which is a really neat feature. We plugged the camera in. We assigned it an IP address through the Hanwha software. Couldn't have been easier. We were required to change the password on the camera. Great feature. Thank you, Hanwha, for thinking of cybersecurity and not even having a default username and password. That's awesome. We set the camera up outside, burned it in, let it gather a bunch of data. We parsed through all of that data, found some really interesting stuff, went through all the different searches, came up with some visual reports, plunked those down on a customized dashboard, and in literal minutes, we were able to go from 1,000 different vehicles passing my street to 2 orange cars, like in seconds. Awesome, awesome, awesome experience. Highly, highly recommend. All right, Genetechers, did I miss anything? Do you want to see more videos like this? Did you like this video? Give me a thumbs up and make sure you hit that subscribe button to be notified when I release more videos just like this. Once again, a special thank you to the folks at Hanwha for providing this camera to me. I've included a link to their contact page down below, as well as the specifications for this particular camera. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Hanwha. My name is Phil Coppola. I'm the Regional Sales Manager for Genetec in the great state of New Jersey and Board Certified Physical Security Professional. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.